house on Blackwood Avenue had always stood out from the others on the block. It was tall and looming, with ivy creeping up its brick walls and a heavy air of foreboding settling around it. Every day, the children in the neighborhood would dare each other to sneak up to the front door and knock, just to see if someone or something was inside, but nobody ever answered. And after a while, the children stopped trying until, that is, the winter of 1982. Denny had always been the bravest of the bunch. He was the first to climb up on the roof of the old abandoned factory on the edge of town. The first to swim across the lake at Camp Crystal Springs even when the other kids were too scared. So it was no surprise when he suggested they all check out the house on Blackwood Avenue. It was early December, and the sun had just set. A light flurry of snow was falling, blanketing the street in a soft powder that gleamed like diamonds in the glow of the street lamps. The air was cold and crisp, and the only sound was the crunch of their boots on the snow as they walked. "So what's the plan?" asked Jamie, the tallest and gangliest of the group. "We just knock on the door," said Denny, grinning. "If nobody's home, we check out the yard, and if anyone does answer, Dada. We run like hell." They all laughed nervously as they approached the house. Denny took a deep breath and rapped on the door with his knuckles 3 times. There was no answer. They waited, hearts pounding in their chests, but still nothing happened. Finally, Denny pushed the door open and they stepped inside. The temperature dropped dramatically as they crossed the threshold, and all of them shivered. The hallway was dark, with peeling yellow wallpaper and cobwebs hanging from every corner. The floorboards creaked under their boots. "Okay, let's split up," said Denny, sounding braver than he felt. "I'll take the living room. Jamie, you take the dining room. And Dada, Emily, and Nikki, you guys take the kitchen." The girls glared at him, but didn't say anything. They just headed off down the hallway, leaving Denny and Jamie alone. "Hey, do you hear that?" whispered Jamie, holding up a hand. Denny listened. There was a faint whispering sound coming from the living room. They snuck towards it, trying to be as quiet as possible. When they peeked inside, their eyes widened in disbelief. The room was empty, except for a row of candles flickering on a table in the center of the room, and sitting at the table was a woman. She was beautiful, with long black hair and piercing green eyes. She wore a white dress that flowed around her, and her skin was as pale as snow. She was whispering to herself, a low sound that was just loud enough to be heard. Jamie's mouth hung open. "What the hell, who is that?" Denny shook his head. "I don't know, but we need to get out of here." They backed out of the room slowly, trying not to make any noise. But just as they reached the hallway, the woman spoke. "Hello, boys." They froze slowly. They turned around. The woman was standing in the doorway, smiling at them. Her eyes glowed in the candlelight. Who are you?" stammered Jamie. "My name is Lilith," said the woman, "and I've been waiting for someone like you to come along." The next thing Denny knew, he was waking up on the living room floor. His head was pounding, and his throat felt dry. Jamie was next to him, groaning softly. What happened?" whispered Denny. "I don't know," said Jamie, rubbing his temples. "I remember her coming towards us, and then everything went black." They both stood up slowly. As they did, they noticed that something was different about the room. The candles had gone out. Suddenly, they heard a scream from down the hallway. It sounded like Nikki. Denny and Jamie ran towards the sound, pounding on the kitchen door. It swung open under their weight. The room was in shambles. The counters had been overturned, and the cabinets were open. There was no sign of Nikki or Emily. "Denny!" screamed Jamie. He was pointing at something. Denny followed his gaze and felt his stomach drop. There, on the ground, was a trail of blood. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. The rest of the night was a blur of terror and confusion. They searched the house from top to bottom, but found no sign of their friends. Eventually, they stumbled out into the snowy street, shivering and alone. The police were called, of course. But they found nothing. No fingerprints, no footprints, no evidence of any kind. It was as if the house on Blackwood Avenue had swallowed their 2 friends whole, leaving behind nothing but a trail of blood and a cold, empty silence. Denny never forgot that night, and even now, 30 years later, he still can't shake the feeling that someone or something is watching him. He still looks up at that looming, ivy-covered house with a sense of unease, wondering what really happened on that cold December night, and he wonders if Lilith is still out there, waiting for the next group of foolish children to stumble into her clutches.